Hello everybody. Today we will be studying about the organism which causes food spoilage or food poisoning, that is Bacillus. Now let's see about the history of this organism. It was first named by Christian Gottfried Ahrenberg in 1835. This organism, Bacillus cereus, was first isolated by Grace and Plessy Franklin in the year 1887, and it was isolated from cowshed. Okay, then it was studied and explained by this person called as Ferdinand and Kohn. There were several outbreaks of food poisoning due to this organism in Hungary, in Finland, UK, USA, Japan, etc. If you see the classification of this organism, it is a bacteria and hence it comes under the domain bacteria, class Bacilli, order Bacillales, family Bacillaceae, and genus Bacillus. If we have to study about the morphology and the characteristics of this organism, it is a gram-positive rod, and they are spore formers. They are highly spore formers, and hence they are highly resistant too. They can survive in the environment for many days together because they can produce spores. Though they can produce spores, they do not bulge out. They are not plumpy. They are thin, slender, sporulating rods. They may or may not produce toxin. They are aerobes. Most of them are aerobes, and few are facultatively anaerobes. These organisms are generally present in soil, in the environment, and also they are present in the gastrointestinal tract of the ruminants and human beings. Now, if we have to see which media this organism can be grown on, as this organism is highly resistant, it does not require any specific or enriched kind of nutrients. Though it can still grow in enriched medium, it can be easily grown on nutrient agar, blood agar. If it is grown on nutrient agar, the colonies, they are large, they are opaque, of white colonies, okay, and feathery in nature. If the organism is grown on blood agar, you can find them non-hemolytic. Bacillus cereus could be beta hemolytic in nature. Beta hemolytic is complete hemolysis. The important species, there are several organisms, there are several species under this bacillus, but the most important ones are Bacillus cereus, Bacillus anthracis, Bacillus subtilis, and Bacillus megaterium. Coming to Bacillus cereus. Now, why Bacillus cereus? Because this is the organism which causes food poisoning. The others are not much involved in food poisoning, but Bacillus cereus is the one which is involved in food poisoning. What does it cause? It basically causes food poisoning by intoxication, which means it produces toxins, and because of the presence of toxins, it causes gastrointestinal illness. Now, what are the diseases? What generally it causes? It causes two kinds of syndromes or diseases, you can say, that is emetic syndrome, or it is also called as vomiting syndrome, and the second one is a diarrheal syndrome or the diarrheal form. Now, let us see what are these. Now, what is this emetic syndrome? Emetic syndrome is short-lived. I mean, even the incubation period is also short, and also the disease is also short. It's basically acute. It doesn't stay for a long time. Now, it is produced due to the toxin that is released by the microorganism, that is called as a emetic toxin. It's basically a protein. Now, what happens here is the organisms can survive in the spore form in the soil. It is generally present in the starchy food materials, in rice, etc. So this can stay in rice in the sporulating form. But if the rice is stored for a long duration, what happens is the spores get converted to the vegetative form, easily produce the toxin, and then you take in the toxin. What are the symptoms? Symptoms are vomiting, nausea, very few times you can also land up in getting diarrhea. What is the incubation period? As I told, it is a very short, acute, and also incubation period is very short. It is half an hour to 5 hours. Within half an hour of the ingestion of the toxin, not necessary microorganism, toxin, uh, and to 5 hours you may start getting the symptoms. And even since it is acute, the symptoms disappear within 8 to 10 hours. It is short lived. What are the foods associated? As I already told you, rice, salads, potato, noodles, or the starchy food are associated with this. Since this organism is present in soil, all the vegetables, since they are definitely grown in the presence of soil, easily the organisms get, or the spores of this organism gets transferred onto the skin or into the food surface. Okay, now let us see the second type, that is the diarrheal syndrome. As the name suggests, diarrheal syndrome, it's basically it causes diarrhea. Here it is because of the presence of the organism. The previous one was because of the presence of the toxin, but this is because of the presence of the organism. The organism needs to be there in the food, which releases out the enterotoxin. Okay, now what are the symptoms? As the name suggests, it leads to diarrhea and dysentery, abdominal pain. Incubation is 8 to 16 hours, slightly more when compared to that of the previous one. Here it is a little long lived, and the symptoms disappear within 24 hours. So if you see, both the symptoms, both the types, maximum it survives, or the symptoms are there within a human being, or in a human being, maximum say for 2 to 3 days. It's self-limiting. The disease is self-limiting. The person gets cured by itself. Who are the people who are generally susceptible to this? People, elderly people, immunocompromised people, children, all these are susceptible to the disease. How do you prevent it? Definitely, you should prevent the growth of the organism, presence of the organism in your food, and also prevent the formation of toxin in the food. So the best way is, if the food, if you're keeping, it has to be kept over 60 degree, and if refrigerated, it has to be refrigerated at 4 degree or below that. Now cooking food before, you have to cook the food before consumption, that is avoid eating raw food like your salads, etc., green leafy vegetables. Avoid eating them, because easily it organism from the soil can get access onto your food surface. Ensure that the temperature when you're cooking, the temperature is up around 72 degree centigrade or before, or more than that. Why? Because it is a protein, the toxin is a protein, and the protein at this temperature will get deactivated. Avoid keeping the food or preserving the food for long duration. The organism will be present in the form of spores. If you store the food, the spores will get the required conditions for it to grow, and it germinates, and after that to vegetative cells, and hence they result in producing the toxin. So avoid preserving the food, avoid storing the food. Consume the food as fast as it is cooked. As I told, the spores easily get spread from the soil onto the surface of vegetables and fruits, and hence wash the vegetables and other food items thoroughly before eating and using them. This organism generally, the people recover without treatment. As I told, the maximum duration is 2, maximum it is 3 days. Within 3 days the person gets recovered by himself. It's a chronic acute infection, short lived. Now because a person loses lots of fluid and salts, oral rehydration is a must. and also taking in salts, because salts are also lost in the process. The organism produces the enzyme beta lactamase, and hence it cannot be, though it is gram positive bacteria, it cannot be treated by penicillin. It is resistant to, highly resistant to penicillin. In severe conditions, if the person case becomes severe, the treatment, the antibiotics like vancomycin can be given, and aminoglycosides also could be given. Thank you.